All right, here we go. We're back. Not on Wednesdays, Tuesdays now, so we got a new schedule. I guess I'll announce that when more people come in the room. Petro is here. It's Cofield. Betting is back. Football betting is some of the real betting we have an opportunity to do. So we're going to be talking a lot about the lines this year. Petro and I are getting into a couple of contests. I told you, I think 2 weeks ago that, I don't know, for some reason, well, I know I did it when I was in New Jersey on the East Coast. I wanted to open an account there and see how easy it was.
Right, and it was easy.
Vegas is a giant pain in the ass for mobile accounts because, unfortunately, corporate types here still believe that one trip into the book to sign up for the account is going to make just a world of difference. You sitting there for 35 minutes filling out the paperwork. I don't get it, right? I don't get it at all. But anyway, so I opened an account in New Jersey, started betting some baseball there. I was like, I'm going to track a little more baseball. Aside from fantasy baseball, I don't always get to watch as much baseball as I want to because I'm on when all the East Coast games are starting up. So I did take a team that is on the wrong side of a no-hitter. Ooh, they just got 2 runs. We'll do that.
So the no-no's gone.
The no-no is gone. Is anyone watching the Padres? Punch up the comments. Padres and Angels. Blake Snell had a no-no, and he just gave that up, and now it's 2-0 Angels top 7. So it looks like it was, a 2-run single? I don't know. Let's see.
So you're back in it, Steve.
I'm back in it for the day, baby. Joe Adell with a single to left center, 2-run score. That's the first hit of the game, and poor Blake Snell's down 2-0 because the Pod Squad, and I was really betting more against the Padres than Snell. The Padres just haven't been good, very good for like 3 weeks now. They're only 9 games above 500, so we'll see what happens the rest of the way. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you gotta like it. I love betting baseball. It's one of my favorites.
But I do think you have to be dialed in just about every day. And if you're not going to do that, like today, I spent my productive time. I have to UNLV football practices in the morning, and we're allowed to watch the practice for about 40 minutes, and then we have to scram and come back 90 minutes later. And I don't live close enough that I'm going to scram back home, so I will usually just sit in the parking lot and do show prep. But today I did a little bit of research on baseball, so hopefully I don't turn in an 0-4 today. We'll see.
The one thing about baseball I always found is it is a grind. It's day in, day out, but then you got to find your spot to take a breather and sit out a day. You start getting to a point where you're like, oh yeah, the Padres have been there for me. Yeah, I'm on the Padres. Like, no, you got to step away and clear your head and start fresh and take a fresh look at things. That's one thing I would advise people.
Well, baseball can definitely get a little repetitive. It's funny. I was just looking at the Astros final score against Seattle. I'm like, I feel like these guys have been playing like 20 straight games. Feels like Houston and Seattle have been engaged in like multiple series the last few weeks. So, so we moved up a day. Tom the Bomb was asking. We moved up a day because Petro's got some podcasting stuff that today is more convenient.
Don't act like it's me. Don't act like
it's mostly me because we had to cut off the back of the week. Because I can't really do Fridays, and nor can Dave Koken. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Petro and I on Tuesdays. Wednesdays will be the legal podcast. I have to inform those guys. Hopefully that'll be the day. And Thursday will be Koken and I to kind of set up the weekend. So that's what we got now.
I was actually coaching volleyball earlier tonight and then had something else I did before this. So stay tuned. Watch my Twitter.
Damn. Big news on the way. You can't even tease it?
We'll be unveiling a couple of new podcasts as well.
Yeah, you're doing a new podcast, which is cool.
Yeah, Eric Eager, Jeff Chidi, and myself. So
I didn't think you were going to give the names out. I mean, if we're going to spoil the whole goddamn thing.
Well, we discussed it tonight. We recorded, you got to do a number of episodes and whatnot and all these different things. And so we have a number of them in the can, if you will.
Nice.
And yeah, well done. That's a good one, no doubt.
Renee and Kirk are taking over Fridays.
Yeah, I like that.
Happen around Fridays.
But yes, so that'll be up, and it's actually, if you look for it on on wherever you find your podcasts. They're up there. Tonight's isn't up there yet, but Too Deep, a football podcast, and Red, White, and True, a Kansas City football podcast. Red, White, and True is we record on Tuesday nights, and Too Deep we record on Thursday nights. So like Wednesday morning, Friday morning is when those will be up.
God, that's a good name.
Is it? I don't know if it is or not. I'm like, I like Too Deep. It's TOO. Like we've gone too deep.
Oh, okay.
Subject matter, not like a too deep zone. And it's like my fear is like if we ever change the name of the Red, White, and True, my fear is that sounds like it's a political podcast.
Oh, okay.
You want to know why it sounds like that? Because like as soon as I put it up there, I saw a political podcast called the same thing.
Oh, wow.
So
pilfering, I like it.
No, I mean because when you add on, a Kansas City football podcast, then it's different.
Sure. You change. It's totally completely different.
It's like if you're a McDonald's, a Kansas City burger chain, that would be totally different. Totally.
Mm-hmm. The business says I'm good with Tuesdays. You can help me with my waiver pickups. I'm not. I'm based on the drafts I've been in so far. I'm not sure I can help anyone. So
I'm a stone cold expert this time of year. I mean, I am definitive, and I will tell you exactly who is going to kick ass. And like 2 weeks from now, I'll be dropping the guy I told you was going to kick ass. But like right now, I am absolute. Dak Prescott is 90% of the top quarterbacks going for 50% of the price. Of course, I didn't get him anywhere. I think I got him on one of my leagues. Did I get him in our Vegas / KC league?
I don't know. I could punch up our rosters. I don't remember.
Anyway, I might have got him on one of my leagues.
I thought you had two good drafts. I thought our late night league last week you hung in there. You didn't blow your budget down to $1 a holler, so you got some good players late too.
I thought so, but who knows? If Jonathan Taylor sucks, then I'm screwed.
Yeah, we were ripping on Jonathan Taylor today on the show a little bit.
Why?
Dustin DeHart was on, and I was just saying, hey, I didn't want to spend $75 for Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying I came out a winner. I got David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs, for like 35 apiece, but who knows? We'll see if they turn out. I had to get Travis Kelce. I had to get him.
There are 3 tight ends that are difference makers.
Well, we'll see.
He's the best of the bunch. But
if Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, and freaking what's his name, Hawkin, whatever his name is, there in Detroit, if they all produce, 70 and 950, then
see, I actually think that Gronkowski's the guy that to me has got the best chance. I do love Gronk.
O.J. Howard's going to steal catches from him.
No, I don't think so. I think Brady to Gronk. I think Brady's comfortable with him. He knows he's going to go fight for the ball. He's going to get the ball. If you look at what he did over the last 6-7 games, once he finally knocked the rust off, he was kind of like old school Gronk.
I think
Gronk
Antonio Brown is going to steal catches from him.
Who will?
Antonio Brown.
I do think Antonio Brown's going to be pretty good. I mean, I'm worried. I got Mike Evans in a couple of leagues, and I think I have Godwin in a dynasty league. So, listen, I hope that the air is filled with footballs in Tampa because I've got everybody but Antonio Brown, who was the guy I wanted to grab because I thought he was going to go cheap too.
Will you start Jameis Winston or Fitzy? Fitzy is projected to have more points.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'll start Jameis. That's what it was. I wanted Dak. I got Dak and Jameis. I think I got both of them in the KC Vegas league. And then in this one, Dak went for too much. And so I got Jameis with Fitzmagic, and Fitzmagic was my third tier guy. I think Dak is going to be first tier quarterback. I think Jameis could be first tier, but he'll at least be second tier. I don't think he's losing the job to Taysom Hill. And so worst case scenario is he throws 35 touchdowns and 25 picks. The best case scenario is he throws 42 touchdowns and 17 picks and throws for 5,500 yards with the Saints.
Nice. Wait, business.
I'm resolute. I sound great right now.
No, I know. I was like, damn, you're confident.
When Winston craps in his hat, like for 2 weeks, and I'm ended up releasing him, and because they release him, then I'm like an idiot. So like right now, it all sounds great. I mean, I'll sell you some stuff right now.
How many leagues are you in?
Off the lot. I'm in 5.
Okay.
2
we'll
times.
We'll get an update from Adam Hill tomorrow. I think he'll. My guess is he's in at least 12.
Okay.
He's insane. Business. JT helped me win my league last year. Who's JT? Which JT? Fill us in.
JT. Jonathan Taylor, I'm sure.
Okay. This is interesting. Do you have any idea what this is?
You came at Jed. Jed mentioned, what were we talking about today? And he said, I was talking to Cofield. Cofield came at me. Like, what were you guys talking about? What were you discussing?
I thought the whole thing was weird.
He reached out to you about something.
Because he, I responded to a tweet.
Was it for a job? Was he looking for a gig?
Not at all.
That's because it's been 3 months since he tried to get a gig with you.
No, he was happy about the Kansas win, and he made a comment about UNLV, and I fired back. I was like, well, UNLV's quarterback actually did turn down Kansas to go to UNLV, so for whatever that's worth. And then it turned into like this
That's what it was.
Weird, like quick back and forth. And then he texted me and he thought I was all mad. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I'll be honest. Well, do you want me to say should I say it?
I don't know. I don't know what
I mean, there are people I talk to sometimes, and this is nothing against the guy, but there are people I talk to sometimes where I'm like, well, that like escalated in a direction I didn't think. I'm like, maybe he's sauced or he's whacked or something. I don't know. So I was like, I'll let it cool down to the next day. And then, because I think he texted me something about Rutgers. And so then I responded the next day. I was like, oh, based on Rutgers Temple, I would assume that Rutgers is going to win like one game in the Big Ten. I didn't like a lot of what I saw. And I said, and when Kansas joins the Big Ten, they'll probably be a better program. So there you go.
And so
but I don't, he was like, oh, we're cool. But what hit me too was, because I sent something like mocking on the Kansas fans going onto the field. And then I deleted it. I was like, I don't want to be that person. For the students of Kansas, they haven't won shit in forever. Who cares who you beat? They won a game. Like, it's a cool moment, and I didn't want to be that guy like Kansas.
Put up Brady there. What my take on KU storming the field?
Yeah.
So I started to tweet.
Yeah.
And then I deleted the tweet.
I tweeted it and I deleted it because I was like, because I root for, Rutgers has not been very good for, like 5 years now. And when you get a feeling of winning, and it's going to be the same thing with UNLV. UNLV's over under for football is 1.5. If they win a couple of games, it's like, hey, be happy. They're starting to go in the right direction. I don't want to be that asshole who's like, Yeah,
that's why I backed off.
Yes, it's like, cut it out.
That's why I backed off. Listen, my school's football program has been atrocious at times. It was atrocious last year.
I hope it's atrocious this weekend.
Yeah, I was like, who am I to like chastise? Yeah. They haven't won in almost, it's been like 600 plus days since they won a game.
Cool. So who, moment.
Who am I to tell them how to celebrate that? Like now, do it again on a game like that, and you'll probably get a tweet. But I was like, nah, whatever. It's their program. Do it however you want.
Yeah, here, what's great? This is a great comment because today with social media and Twitter, if we had known about the story of Rudy, somehow there would have been like 30% of the people on Twitter and social media who would have shit all over it. Right? So Kirk says, did you clap when Rudy played? Yes, you did. You know what? 30% would still find a way to try to ruin the moment, or like people are having too much joy. I have to kill this.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Rudy would have been, a polarizing. He'd have been masks. Whether or not you're wearing masks.
Yep.
Which side are you on? Are you for Rudy, or are you against just giving everybody everything for free?
Yep.
Having a spot on the roster for a guy who sucks.
This is a good comment too. Kind of like the Raiders taking a victory lap last year around Arrowhead. If you're a Chiefs person, right, and this kind of goes for the college football thing, there are times you just don't need to punch down.
Right.
And that's kind of a dig in itself, but you don't need to punch down.
Yeah.
Let the mediocre and the bad celebrate when they actually have a nice moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. And let it motivate you. I mean,
I don't know what this means, but it's funny. Rudy would be subtweet. He'd be a subtweeting monster. That's awesome.
Would he have a burner?
Oh, there you go. JT helped me win. Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. Or Justin Timberlake. Would he have a burner? Probably.
Yeah. You know. Rudy's the best. Let him play. Let him play.
Like Ronaldo would have blown up Rudy a couple of games before, and then the whole thing would have been, people would have been an anti-Rudy.
The 30 for 30.
Didn't earn it, like you said.
What have I told you?
Yeah.
There was a guy who sucked, but they played him anyway.
Ronaldo. Yeah. Ronaldo. Oh, so one more quick thing before I want to go through week one impressions and college football lines. I hadn't had a chance to talk to you since you were asking the Big 12 to go west. What happened?
They're going west. They're going west to BYU.
They went west a little bit with BYU, but I got to tell you, enjoy BYU. You're gonna learn a whole lot about BYU. But yeah, I mean, clearly some of us out here, not that you thought it was a great chance, but we're hoping that the Big 12 would come west instead of going to Cincy and Houston and Central Florida.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking here's my thought process, and so here's where I think it's flawed to go towards Central Florida and Cincinnati. Like, when are you going to play those games? You're going to play those games at the same time that the SEC and ACC plays, which means you're never going to get a premium time slot, right? If you go west, then all you've got to do is muscle out. All you're competing with is the Pac-12. And whatever's left of the Mountain West, whatever you don't take from the Mountain West. And to me, you've got a chance to own those time zones and those time slots. So you've got a chance to own, an 8 or 9 o'clock start. Like, maybe you don't get, everyone's finishing up on the other game, but then they're switching over to you. And I know there are people like, well, on the East Coast, they're going to bed and all that, but like, they're not watching, K-State Cincy over Georgia Clemson, right?
I follow a lot of West Coast people, so maybe that's why I thought people were really engaged. I thought the Twitter engagement for the late games,
BYU Arizona
BYU Arizona, then even Utah State Washington State was like the last game of the night. I thought there was a lot of chatter on social media about the games, and most of it's because of betting. But don't discount those West Coast spots, man. That's chasing at the end of the night after a long day of betting. There are a lot of people who stay up, and hell, we know that from the olden days, right? We know it from freaking the mid 80s and, into the early 90s when people would stay up and watch freaking Big Monday. And at the time, UNLV was on there all the time. So people stay up.
Yeah. And I just think it's like short-sighted, right? Like the mountain time zones, the cities in the mountain time zones are growing. And, the Sun Belt's growing as well. The difference is there aren't going to be hurricanes hitting the mountain time zones every, 3 times a year. Like,
I'll tell you one city, and I didn't want to take a shot at them, but that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, these are livable places, and people are moving to a lot of these cities out west. Ain't no one moving to Cincinnati. Like, I love that goddamn chili, but it's funny. We were talking to one of your local TV people today, doing a little Chiefs conversation with Mackenzie Nelson, and I was asking her about road trips, and she's like, "Oh, I'm coming to Vegas." I was like, "All right, the worst road trip," and I named it was like Cincy, Philly, and somewhere else. And clearly on the Chiefs' schedule on the road, the worst one is Cincinnati. It's bad. It's just not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've missed out on this like resurgence of Cincinnati. I've been there several times. I just thought kind of a small Midwest city that, I don't know. Is it growing?
Yeah, I've been told by the PFF guys I've got to come to the Chiefs at Bengals. Okay. And needless to say, the trip is not booked as we sit here right now. Like, I'm not itching to get to Cincy. Right. I have no doubt that every city has its charms. Of course. Right? That you go there with somebody who's from there, they can tell you where the good places to go. So yeah, but no, I listen, they're trying to get into a television market. And by the way, Cincinnati's not even that big. And so it's not the direction I would go. I think it's the knee-jerk reaction fix as opposed to the big picture.
I would have grabbed, and I'm not going to push UNLV because the football program is not good. But I would have had some real dialogue with Boise, but especially San Diego State. So I know it's far west, but
I think they're trying to not blow off West Virginia. And so they're trying to give West Virginia travel partners instead of saying, look, West Virginia, you got to go where you got to go, but we're going west. And so I think that's the issue. And so, yeah, I'm not It's not the direction I would go. I think the smarter big picture play. And listen, the answer may be that, well, we do this now, and then as the mountain time zones grow, then we'll grab those schools. I think if you don't grab them now, then you're more likely to lose them to the Pac-12 as they grow. But people could say, well, you grab them in the Big 12, the Pac-12 will just steal them from there, just like they did Colorado. Fair point.
Are there any estimates on what when they re-up a TV deal, what do they get now per school? When Texas and Oklahoma were around, was it north of 30 or like high 20s?
It was over 30. It's like 34 or 37 million. I can't remember which.
I mean, is there any way they're getting that same number in this new TV deal?
No, it's estimated that they were half the value. Texas, you were half the value.
So they'd be pushing
$19 million value, and then whatever they add with Cincy and all those, and you got to pay those. Do they add enough to bump that up, or do they just maintain the 19?
Right. Oh boy.
I mean, either way, I think for the schools in the Big 12, it's actually going to be a better path to the playoffs.
Okay.
Because they don't have to go through Texas and Oklahoma to get there.
Right.
And OU's an automatic loss for basically everybody in the league. That goes away.
Yep.
And so I think there's a better opportunity to go 11-1 or 12-0 without them there. And I think, Boise has a better chance. And the way the 12 team was played out, Boise has a better chance of going to the championship than anybody not named Texas or Oklahoma in the Big 12 does. And I think they now take on more of a Boise-like appearance.
5 years from now, what's the best football program in the Big 12? Who's the school to beat? Could it be one of the teams they're bringing in?
Yeah, I think it could be BYU.
Oh, boy. Won't that be fun?
I think it could be BYU. I think proximity to town, it could be Central Florida. But I think Central Florida is such a commuter school. Like, they've done great things, but I think people are always going to want to go to Florida and Florida State first, and Miami third maybe, and Central Florida fourth. Like, can you really carve out a spot there to where you're winning? Now, there's so much talent that even if you're picking fourth, it's certainly better than the talent in Iowa. Right? Iowa's got to get down into Texas. That's why I think Houston to try to get a footprint on the eastern side of Texas is important to the equation. So I don't think it'll be Houston. I think if it's anybody, I think it's BYU, it's Oklahoma State. And if they have it right with the coach and Chris Klieman, which I definitely think they have a good one, but if they have a great one, then I think K-State's got the machinery to go down and recruit the areas in the schools that they play. And I think the one thing that I think is going to be interesting for all of those schools, and that Chris Klieman at K-State's kind of figured out, is the transfer portal. Based upon the way they dominated Stanford, it was really a 24-0 game until an, oh, by the way, touchdown late, made it 24-7. He got in and got a couple of big pieces. Got a nose tackle from Charlotte, got a corner from, I think it was USC, or maybe he had a stop in between. And those guys are contributing heavily. And the word from Manhattan is that they really like what they were able to get done in the transfer portal. And that's going to be a bigger focus for them moving forward. Just the way Bill Snyder made it go with the junior colleges, Chris Klieman may be making it go with the transfer portal.
Are we assuming Matt Campbell's leaving Iowa State?
I am.
My 5-year question.
I am. Yeah.
Me too. By the way, did they just add I'm not going to say it's a one-coach program, because since he's had a little bit of success in football, but, I mean, Luke Fickell's not staying there forever. I don't care if they're in a Power 5.
Yeah, I agree.
So did they just add – I mean, do we believe Cincinnati long-term is really a top 40 program?
It is talent, and I think that is something else that opens up Ohio theoretically to the other schools. But
yeah,
no, I don't. There's nothing. Cincinnati has not consistently been in that mode. I mean, they've got the coach in place right now.
Yeah,
and he recruited to a different league. I mean, do they go down and popularity, because now they're going to be playing games in West Texas. They're going to be playing games in Lubbock, in Waco. Do Ohio kids want to play all their road games someplace else? I mean, what's the drivable road game for Cincinnati in that league?
I guess
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
And that's not even close. That's not that you can do it, but it isn't like we're popping over there. We're 3 hours away.
Sorry, I was just looking up what Cincinnati's. God damn it! What their recruiting is looking like this year.
I can look it up.
They have like a top 40 class, number 32 class, number 1 in the AAC.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you're going to be when you're in the 5th league. I mean, that's good for the 5th league.
Yep. All right, so you want to go through some numbers this weekend for college football?
Let's do it.
All right. First of all, it appears that there is some Kansas backing. Kansas is now only a 25.5 point underdog. Hopefully Jed's not on here. Jed, these are facts. They're not malicious facts. They're just facts. Coastal Carolina is 25.5 against Kansas. Does that seem high?
No. And you know it doesn't seem high. Why would it seem high?
I mean, it is a little shocking to see the names of the schools and a 25.5 there.
It's actually not shocking at all.
Jed's really softened my stance on Kansas. Everything Kansas is kind of good to me, or I'm neutral.
Well, he gave them a D for their performance, so I don't know why he was in your grill. Like we said, what grade do you give each of the local schools for week 1?
Yeah.
And they were both, Curtis and Jed were like A on K-State. I was A-. Like I'd like to have seen, I don't think Stanford's that good, and I'd like to have seen more offense, but I think it was a really good performance.
Right.
They were like C's on Mizzou, and I think I was a B-.
Damn.
With their win over Central Michigan. And then on KU, it was D- from Jed, D from Curtis, and I gave KU a C+. Then 1 in 2 years. Like winning has to matter.
Yeah.
D- Jed gave Kansas.
Wow. Got high standards now. Trying to get into the Big Ten. Got to win games. Got to win them impressively.
Yeah. Style points matter. No, but I mean, I like, do you think that's smart money moving that number down?
No.
Do you want any part of that game? Like, is that just, Kansas won? Coastal Carolina can't be that good 2 years in a row, so give me Kansas?
No, I don't want any part of the game. But I just think that the number, it's just, it's just crazy when you see a Power 5.
Well, explain to me how, if I think I'm reading this right, 80% of the tickets and 62% of the cash are on Coastal Carolina, yet the number's going down?
80% of the cash.
I see the one I'm looking at says 62% of the cash.
62% of the cash.
80% of the tickets. Yet the number's going down. Explain, please.
Yeah, there you go.
So the right people
right
at Coastal Carolina.
Yes.
So
there you go.
Have fun with that.
Are you fired up about Ohio State after watching them one time? They have a lot of weapons. Obviously, the quarterback's going to take a little time to grow. That number is 15 in one spot. Oregon's getting 14.5, 15 against Ohio State. I already bet Oregon plus 14.
I like Oregon.
Can get the best number.
I like Oregon, but I get burnt a lot trying to say, like, now I stay out of the way of Alabama. But like the big boys, like it can't just be these 4 schools every year.
Right.
Somebody's got to be rising up. And so I get burned on that. But I do think Oregon has talent. And so I do tend to want to think Oregon's going to play in this game.
I think last week was a bit of a look ahead spot. Shouldn't be in the opener for Oregon. They were looking ahead to this game.
Yes.
And Fresno's a lot better than, well, I was going to say their name would suggest. Actually, Fresno has been a pretty consistent, good program, sending guys to the NFL for a long time. So they play a physical brand of football, and they were right there with Oregon. So I wasn't like, I didn't come out of the Oregon game going, they suck because they didn't blow out Fresno. Like, man, Fresno was expected to give them a pretty good game, and that line was way too high at 20. So, and this is the week where I'm trying to, and I may bet into some losers for the next couple of weeks, but I don't. While I see a lot of people, and sadly, it's a lot of the betting experts who are doing this, where everything is like suck great. Like it's not that extreme on one end or the other, It's only one game, like just like the other intriguing one is Michigan was a pick or one in look ahead lines against Washington. It's pushing 7 now with Michigan favored because again, and that's the thing. I think the gap between some of the really good FCS teams, because they're getting so many transfers too from FBS, that the gap with the good FCS teams, and we continue to see guys go to the NFL from FCS, like they're not as far behind as they used to be. And I'm not saying like the 30th FCS team, if it's Old Dominion trying to compete with Wake, that didn't work. I think that was a matchup, but you saw like South Dakota State, Montana, like they're Eastern Washington. We'll see how good they are. They beat UNLV, but I don't think the gap is as big as it used to be. So to freaking overreact because of an upset loss is insane.
I think there is I always say the NFL draft has, 10 to 25 real first rounders. There's 20 to 50 real second rounders in any year. And then there's probably, another 20 to 50 real third rounders. And then everybody's the same. So in a lean year, you get like somewhere towards the bottom of the third round. They're no different than the college free agents. Well, I think that talent is true in the sense that there is the 3 or 4 teams that have all these NFL caliber guys, the Alabamas, the Clemsons. Then there's, another pocket of teams that have some of those guys. And then I think there's like thousands of guys that are all kind of the same. And I'm with you. I think some of the old school 1AA programs are every bit as good as, say, a Kansas. And I think you saw that with South Dakota State. And even I think, and with Washington, right? Their frontline guys can play with the bigger programs.
Yep. And the Oregon questions are fair on the about Thibodeau. He's going to play. So he's day-to-day. Drew Mathis is out, which, by the way, that name cracks me up because I remember him here 2 years ago, actually on the sidelines at a UNLV game visiting. So, which I give credit to the old coach for getting a visit from the kid. So he was a San Diego State guy, then JUCO, and then Oregon offered him. He went to Oregon. So they're a little beat up on defense.
How was I shaky?
JVT heard Soren on the PFF pod. Shaky. Wow. Who knows? Okay. You never know. Super contest pod. Yeah, we're kind of going towards that. It's not a shocker. It's not a shocker. It was more the point that they actually got him in for a visit, and then that's what happens. Sometimes recruits blow up. There's a kid on the Oregon roster who's from Arizona. He's, I think, a 6-year senior now. John Johnson, the second or the third, he actually committed to UNLV, and then Oregon came in before the late signing day and stole him away. And so there you go.
I will say this though, like, yes, sometimes, a recruit blows up. There's also times that you're good enough to get in the living room and to be one of the last 5, but you'll never close the deal. And so you're spending a lot of time on a kid you're never going to get. I mean, Bill Snyder told me that story. I said, why did it go south at the end of your first stint? You win the Big 12 championship, and then you have 2 losing seasons. What happened? He said, because when we won the Big 12 championship, doors opened up that hadn't been opened, and we spent a lot of time in homes trying to close deals that we kept finishing second and third on.
Wow.
And we were in the door, but we couldn't close. So we lost a bunch of the guys that were really our bread and butter players because we weren't giving them the time that we used to give them. And so we bottomed out talent-wise.
It's a tough game, man. It's a tough game. Look at this one. Oh, boy. Rutgers, Syracuse. Here we go. This one's been bet up to 2. The lowly doormat of the Big Ten, a favorite on the road somehow.
Yeah, what do you think about that? And getting all the action.
What's the
bets? Split? 2 different bets.
Right. Now you know what's funny about that is the Rutgers Temple game last week for some reason was like one of the highest volume games at the Westgate. I don't know why people were betting it heavily. I mean, obviously it worked out if you bet the favorite.
98% of the cash, 85% of the tickets on Rutgers.
Is that right? Yet the line's only moved a point. So, all right. Yeah. I don't know. You tell us where is Syracuse right now? It's funny, we had Kadri Ismail on last week, and my question was kind of clunky because I was like, "Hey, what do you think right now about Syracuse football?" I was closing out the interview about the Ravens because he works the Ravens broadcast, and he was like pretty supportive of Dino Babers. I'm like, okay.
I think they like Dino Babers and they want Dino Babers to be successful, but I think Dino Babers just pivoted the entire recruiting approach, and is that going to buy him time?
What is it? What they change?
They changed where they were recruiting, and I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. I mean, I don't cover Syracuse, so I read about Syracuse when I have time. But they were going back into, like, I don't know if it was Maryland or Pennsylvania, where it was. They were someplace that they had done well, but he hadn't really recruited. Now they were going to get back to that, and it sounded to me like a little bit of what I just mentioned about Bill Snyder. Like, he had that 10-win season and thought, okay, here we go. And it did. It opened the door, and he spent a lot of time flying down to Florida or something, and South Carolina and Georgia, only to be told, like, yeah, Clemson's offering coach, so I'm going to Clemson. Like, oh, Florida State's offering coach, so I'm going to Florida State. Like, he started finding out that, what, like, you can find the guy here and there, but he better really show a passion. Otherwise, you better stick in your neighborhood, right? It needs to be 6 hours or closer.
They've got what do they have? 13 commits, 12 commits. 3 are from Florida. Let's see: New Jersey, Maryland, Ohio, South Carolina, Jersey, Michigan, Wisconsin, Michigan, and New York. Is that one player from New York in the whole? Okay, out of 12, huh? All right.
I mean, how much football is actually being played in the state of New York? Does anybody in Manhattan play football?
There's a couple decent football programs on Long Island and Staten Island, but yeah, it's a little harder in the more gritty boroughs.
Yes. So, like, they used to, like, when they were good, they were getting it done in Pennsylvania and
definitely Florida,
was a big part of it.
Yeah, they recruited in Florida.
They had their moments in Florida, but it was kind of a different. Like, I don't know that everybody was in Florida as hard as everybody's in Florida now. And there sure as hell wasn't Nick Saban taking anything he wanted.
Right.
So.
Yes, Brady is correct. Who was the old coach? Now I'm blanking on his last name. Was he the OC forever? George
Fearson De Leon?
Yeah, he was big in Jersey.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy.
They pulled a lot of talent. Well, when Rutgers was down, they killed it in Jersey.
Which was most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah. All right. So what are we doing on this game? You got to take the home team, right? +2?
That's where I would go. Why would you lay points with either one of these teams? I'd money line the dog.
Yeah. All right. I'm with you. That's not what I'm rooting for, but I'm with you.
Like, do you like the board, by the way, in college football this week?
I do, actually, yeah.
Okay.
I got to do more research on this one, but I actually was thinking about taking UAB against Georgia +26. Seriously.
Letdown hangover.
Yep. UAB's got, and they have a good program, good coach. He's gonna be on his way somewhere major after this in the letdown spot.
So what did you see out of Georgia and Clemson? Did you see two great defenses, or did you see two teams that can't get out of their way on offense?
I saw two great defenses. I know PFF annihilated the Clemson offensive line, that their O-line was just completely ill-equipped. Kirby Smart threw everything at Clemson. Here's the other thing, and this was one of my big things before the season, because I think Georgia is, I've been saying, I think they're the best team in terms of returning. Now, Alabama showed pretty well, right? Bryce Young may be awesome. But with both quarterbacks in the game, like, there's just an assumption, because we got a little snippet of DJ Uiagalelei, that he's automatically going to be like, right in the Trevor Lawrence area. Like, no, he's a freaking young guy, man. And I'm telling you, like, I think the rep, the upside, like, let's see JT Daniels get through a whole season and be the superstar he's supposed to be. Like be that first round quarterback prospect. Let's see it, you know?
He at least didn't throw the pick six. I'm going to tell you, I just had this argument with Eric Eager, and he's like, well, DJ is going to be a top 10 pick. And I'm like, no, he's not. Like, I'll take that bet. Anybody wants the other side of that? Like, he is not going to go in the top 10.
Why? You don't think this is a blip and he's going to grow from here?
Well, I will here if I'm wrong. Who's Clemson's OC? Because he sucked. Like these routes where the guy goes 5 yards and just stops and stands there and stares at the quarterback are atrocious. Yeah. Like
and that works. That works against lesser opponents, but against a team like Georgia with their speed.
Well, it's like he thought he had zones everywhere, and they were playing man, and they were, guys were just running to a spot and stopping. But also there were times when guys were open and DJ wouldn't let go of the ball. He was a little Blaine Gabbert-esque in the sense that his eyes would immediately come down to the rush and he's looking for an escape route. And it was clear that Georgia was coming with enough heat that you weren't going to escape. You had to get rid of the ball, whether it was just throwing it away to live for another day, or it was, hot routes and quick slants and getting the ball out and even putting some air under the ball and throwing it up, letting the guy run under it because you got to let go of the ball, and he never adjusted. I was not impressed with him at all. And I wasn't impressed with the offense coordinator either. And I think it speaks to that this might be a little bit of a comeback to the pack time. We're going to find out, let's see how good Dabo Swinney is without Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm. Right. Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. Who was the kid at Mizzou who had the 1 year in between? The quarterback.
Yeah, and he sucked, by the way. And I tried to tell everybody in Missouri that. Like, I watched this guy against Syracuse, and he is not good. Number 10. Yeah.
Kelly Bryant.
Yeah. They're like, Kelly Bryant's coming over from Clemson. I'm like, he's leaving Clemson for a reason. Right? Like, he's not good.
Right.
I mean, he had a play. There was one where they had like a behind the quarterback shot, and it was late in the game, and he just literally threw it up for grabs. It was like you would have done in the street, with a Nerf.
Right.
In the third grade, just like heave it up there and see what happens. Like, no, that's not how we do it at this level. So, but I'm not impressed with DJ Clemson. And maybe I'll be eating those words and we'll be like, wow, this Georgia defense is by far the best in college football. And there's 7 draft picks and, 4 more that are going to be drafted next year. And, we're going to say it's tremendous, but I thought he showed really poor, and it doesn't look good. In fact, I would bet that he doesn't finish his career at Clemson.
What?
I think they have to have a guy better than him.
Wow. All right. Iowa State, you willing to lay the 4.5 against Iowa? Iowa looked pretty damn good against Indiana. I think Indiana's quarterback is hurt right now, but I know PFF was freaking raving about Iowa's defense, especially on the back end.
I am going to lay it with Iowa State. I mean, I think, why are they favored after such a poor performance against Northern Iowa? First of all, Northern Iowa is a kind of a unique program at that level because where most schools have like 10 or 11 full scholarships and then some partials, they have like 55, 60 full scholarships. Like, they're serious about football. Plus they get all these transfer downs, all these discipline problems. They have good talent. And then it is like their Super Bowl, and they bring it against Iowa State. And so I would not read too much into Iowa State. Now, I it's not good. What was it, 16-10 final? Something like that. Like, that's not good, but I think you're going to see a much better. And I think Iowa State played everything close to the vest because this is the game. This is what Matt Campbell hasn't done, beat Iowa. And so I think whatever they did against Northern Iowa was based on beating Iowa. Now, don't get me wrong. He didn't want it to be 16-10, but I think he went in there going, we get out of here 24-10, I'll be happy.
Right. Yeah, our gambling guy today, Sam, was saying he didn't think Iowa State showed a whole lot in the game, too, that they held some stuff back.
Yeah, I like Iowa State minus the 4.5. They're favored that for a reason. In fact, that would be a play for me for sure.
Texas on the road, 6.5 against Arkansas. Old Southwest Conference.
Yeah, I don't think Texas is as good as they look. They were by far the best of the bunch out of the Big 12, the best showing, beating a Louisiana team that was in the rankings. But I'm not sold on them being that good. Arkansas handled Rice. I think Arkansas is going in the right direction, and so I'll take Will Pig Sooie.
All right.
What about
Missouri. I'm more on Arkansas than yeah. I would take the 6.5. Missouri and Kentucky. We'll play the dog here. Getting 5 on the road.
I like both programs. I would probably play Missouri, although they just couldn't stop the run. I'm worried about them defensively. I like that Connor Bazelak had 2 touchdowns because he only threw for 7 last year. He got some buzz, and rightfully so, because he did manage games well. I think the fact that Missouri ran that, one back one for 200 yards, like they clearly are not missing Roundtree. They miss him. He's a good football player, but they are clearly in a spot where they're going to reload at running back as long as Eli Drinkwitz is there. So they can run. Bazelak, connected on some touchdowns, but it was kind of a disappointing game. But I do wonder how much he was close to the vest. And was very critical today in his comments about the SEC is a line of scrimmage league and we have to win at the line of scrimmage, and we didn't do that well enough. And so I think that is a little bit scary. But they did not stop the run. And so I think that's why Kentucky's the favorite. But I think these games are usually tight. And I'll take Missouri in the points. But I think the game, listen, I like Mark Stoops and I like Eli Drinkwitz. So I like to find reasons to bet both guys. But I would take Missouri.
What will you do with Washington plus it's 7? Yeah, it's up to 7 now against Michigan. Again, I keep quoting PFF with their college rankings. They had Cade McNamara as good as anyone in the Power 5 a quarterback in the country. So whatever. That's what they did lose. They did lose one of their good receivers to a torn ACL, Ronnie Bell. So
can I do you see a quarter? This is not, quarterbacks are not going 1, 2, and 3 in this draft. Like the North Carolina kid threw 3 picks. Who is it that you think is the guy? Spencer Rattler. I put up some numbers for OU, but didn't just keep going up and down the field. Baker Mayfield would have won that game like 70-35. Right? Like Rattler's average yards per attempt was quite low last year. So he's a little bit more of just like checking it down and taking the safe throw and letting the athletes run and go do things, as opposed to, the 25-yard Patrick Mahomes like strike down the field. So I don't think quarterbacking in general, I don't think there are guys that you're just terrified. Oh my God, we're going up against this guy this week. So if you could be at the top of the class, my point is you can be at the top of the class like Washington's is, but I don't think that means that you're exceptional. So, I'm a fan of Jim Harbaugh, the guy, just because I think he's a great radio interview. But I would tend to say that this is an overreaction to Washington laying an egg, and I would be on Washington.
Right. Last one that I have that I like. I bet Arizona already, although the line's flipping against me now, so I guess I bet them too early. Arizona was 1. I got them at 1. Now they're getting 1.5 against San Diego State. So I think this year is going to be a little wake-up call for San Diego State. I'm not sure that Brady Hoke is a good coach. And now we're getting to about that time where, more of his recruits are going to start being a big part of the program. And I'm not sure they have a quarterback in the program. And Arizona lost to BYU. I think BYU is going to be pretty good. So I took Arizona on that one, but obviously I bet it too early and I didn't predict where the number was going to go. So.
And Arizona showed some fight. And meanwhile, San Diego State was futzing around with New Mexico State. I can't tell you I know anything about New Mexico State other than they're not good, generally speaking.
No, they're not.
And they don't even invest in like decent uniforms.
New Mexico State outgained them. They lost 28-10, but they actually outgained them.
Yeah. So, I thought the San Diego State game didn't look good. But again, I give everybody the chance to have the right to have a bad first game. So they did still get the win, and by double digits. So
let's see who was saying earlier they're going down to Tempe. Have you been to a game at Arizona State?
Yeah, I've been to a couple.
How's
Saw
that?
Washington. Saw 2 ranked. Saw Brock Heward.
Oh, really?
Beat a ranked Huskies against J.R. Redmond and a ranked ASU. And I think it was Notre Dame come into ASU.
UNLV is playing there. They're getting 33.5.
You got a side?
I would probably take the points because UNLV, come hell or high water, I think the quarterback's going to stay in the entire game if they're getting blown out. And they do have a good running back. So I think they'll be, if they're down big, they'll be able to score late. So, and I think, no, we'll see. I think physically their defense can hold up against Arizona State. It's the UNLV mistakes early in the season that I think are going to hurt them. So this quarterback he'll throw some interceptions. I think he had like 5 passes dropped on him. He's got a freaking rifle, but at least 4 times he freaking gunned it at a receiver's head 12 to 18 yards downfield, and it went like off the hands or through the hands. So they got to get better at that.
Yeah.
But their next 2 weeks are not going to be easy because they play Arizona State down there and then Iowa State here. So,
yeah, sounds good. A couple of state schools.
Well, it's time to make money. When you're a Group of 5 school, you got to make money. So you get a pay game at Arizona State, and they're going to get, my guess is 15,000, maybe 20,000 people to come in from Iowa.
At least.
I know they opened another level of the stadium, so hopefully they'll get like 40,000 for that game. The crazy thing is, I think we talked about it last week. BYU. Did anyone have the final attendance on that? I think BYU and Arizona wound up drawing 55,000 at Allegiant. So, and rumors are BYU, I think it's next year, has a game with Notre Dame here. And then LSU and USC are going to open the season 2024 here. So these are the same folks who organized the Las Vegas Bowl. So they're doing a beginning of the season and obviously the Las Vegas Bowl, and they're also dealing with the Pac-12 championship. So a lot of cool events coming here.
Yeah, no, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and Allegiant, truth is right, Allegiant Airlines did add a bunch of flights from Des Moines for Iowa State people to come out here in a couple weeks.
Oh, they'll be there.
It's a good fan base, right?
Oh, it's a great fan base. Fantastic. Yeah. Like, I love their fans. They're awesome. They're there no matter what, good, bad, ugly, thick and thin. They come down for the Big 12 tournament. And granted, Ames is just a couple hours, 3 hours away. But they'll come down for the Big 12 basketball tournament as the lowest seed and still be the most represented school there, not named Kansas.
All right, NFL board, have you looked?
I have.
All right. Thursday night opener. It's all the way up to 8. I think some people would argue you missed the number, so there's no sense in betting it now, unless you're taking Dallas, and then you're in heaven. So what do you do with this one?
Is this an overreaction to Hard Knocks?
Yes.
Right. I like Dallas's offense. Right. It should be ready to go. How much does Dak not playing affect them? I am worried about a little bit of rust there, but I don't know. I think that's a fair point. No Zach Martin. I don't know how they're going to handle the rush on the Bucs. So I think it's a dangerous spot. So I don't love the game. I'm with you. I don't love laying 8 with Tampa, but I think the Bucs are laying that number for good reason.
Yeah, that'll be a stay away from me. I'll probably bet in game on that one, but I'm not betting it beforehand. Pittsburgh and Buffalo. Bills are 6.5. Where do you have the Steelers? We did a little poll, a little ranking with the Cofield Company crew, and we had Pittsburgh way down. So we had Pittsburgh at 19th, best team in the NFL.
Really? And coming home with what kind of record?
Right around 500, 8-9, 9-8. I mean, Tomlin never finishes below 500, but I don't know. Last year was such a weird year. They won so many games early, and then they look like ass late. And did they bring back Big Ben, for 1 year too many? Is their offensive line any better? Do they have a running back in Najee Harris, a bell cow? And I don't think their defense is going to be nearly as good as it's been. And who knows? I mean, it'll get worked out. But this nonsense with T.J. Watt now is just a unnecessary distraction. Not getting the deal done with them.
They've got that, but then the Bills have the COVID holy war going on with guys on their team and who seem to be more focused on political agendas than they are certainly winning football games. So plus they're a team that just experienced great success for the first time. And I think there's a natural, drunk on success follow-up year that there should be a regression to the Buffalo Bills. So I like the Bills under their win total, but the Steelers aren't the team that I want to back either because I think they've got real question marks. So I don't love this game, but I would tend to go ahead and take that Mike Tomlin's going to have his team ready to play and that they'll drag this thing down into the mud. But I don't really like it. Like if the Bills were going up against somebody that I thought was a more solid team, or if they were laying a bigger number against an up and coming team, then I would be all over going against the Bills. What do you think of the Bills based upon all the COVID issues they've had? Like all the arguing and complaining and tweeting and.
I think they'll be fine unless they have outbreaks. So I think guys arguing on social media is not that big a deal, especially, it's defensive players and offensive players going at it. I think they can overcome that. But, if they have a COVID outbreak and you have some tracing and they have, 2 or 3 games affected by the fact that guys aren't vaccinated. And again, I've been saying it. There's about 6 or 7 guys at quarterback who we don't know if they're vaccinated or not. And to me, it's a stay away until freaking Sunday morning.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
I got to know Josh Allen's playing, or I'm not. Obviously, it's going to changes the whole approach if all of a sudden we find out, midday Friday that he's out for 10 days.
No, I agree. I don't. So who's your side? Do you have a strong side on this?
I'd probably lean Pittsburgh.
Okay,
it's a lot of points.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
At a principle, and God, this could be a disaster. And David Culley may be a one and done. I'm not betting Jacksonville -3 with a rookie quarterback in Urban Meyer.
Are you? I
love Trevor Lawrence, but give me a break.
Like, so you're on the Texans.
I will. I don't think it's a like, but yes, I will lean Texans, and I'll probably bet it +3.
This is one where we're going to find out, like, are the Texans just absolutely atrocious and unbettable? Like, I think the Texans are really bad. They have some weapons and they have a veteran quarterback. There are some pieces. I'm with you. I mean, they have a left tackle. They have a veteran QB. I think David Culley's actually a good football guy. And they certainly have an us against the world mentality going. So, yes, I'm not ready to buy in that Urban Meyer's got it all figured out in Jacksonville. So I like the Texans.
Yeah. I'm not ready to buy in that Trevor Lawrence is going to come, right into the league and be, and I like him. I would rather the Jets have him than Zach Wilson, although there are people who disagree with me now who like Zach Wilson, which, by the way, Jets are getting 5 at Carolina.
Yeah, that's the one I thought you skipped. Give me the Jets.
Why?
Because I think everyone feels like Carolina's about to take off. What do you like, Sam Darnold? Like you think Darnold's like the Jets are holding him back? I mean, I don't think the Jets are doing him any favors, but I don't see anything in Sam Darnold.
It's nice that he has weapons now. So,
but I think the Jets have invested in the weapons for Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I think the Jets have an offensive line.
So I was laughing at the Jag. If the Jags win 52-49, that'll be amazing.
That will be. And by the way, the Jags did. We had 2 entries in a suicide pool, and one that went to where you couldn't reuse teams, and I think one went all the way to the divisional round, and the other one we lost on Colts Jags week 1.
Week 1, yep. Yeah, our gambling guy Sam Panayottovich, that's what he did. He was in the Circa Survivor, and he had the Colts week 1.
Yeah,
and that one, correct me if I'm wrong in the audience. If I'm correct on this, that one you could use the same team repeatedly, or go against the same team repeatedly. And I think they wound up having it was like a 48-way tie at the end of the year. Like dozens of people got through the season unbeaten. Which I've never heard of a Survivor where you could keep using.
Not big ones. I've seen smaller ones where you could keep using the same one, but
yeah. So they changed that this year. I think it's once you use someone,
that's it.
Done. Ooh, does this number seem small to you? Tennessee 3 against Arizona.
Yes, and the Titans always seem to get a lot of, or the Cardinals seem to get a lot of love. The Titans defense took on water. They added weapons to their offense. They've battled COVID here coming down the stretch. I think that's probably a factor in it, but I think this one is more about the passion for Kyler Murray and the flashy plays than it is necessarily the line. I'm not but I'll say this. I don't like Arizona on the point total, but part of it's because I think the NFC West is really tough. So I think they've got 6 really tough conference games.
I'm still not bought in on Arizona, and I don't love the additions of J.J. Watt or A.J. Green.
I like them when they actually line up and play. I don't like them for 17 games, but if they're ready to go and going to play in one game, then they can make a difference. But they're not going to play for 17, so I don't like the signing.
Now, by the way, the circa last year, it was 35 people tied. I might have the wrong number here. I'll keep looking. Anyway, should the Chargers be favored? They're -1 against the football team.
Not based on last year's record or finish of the season, but yes, I think the feeling is that the Chargers are a better team, but I think football team is better. And, you're going to live or die. Is it Fitzmagic or Fitztragic? Because I think there's a couple of guys to throw to now, and I think he'll throw it and keep throwing it. And so I think the whole world is going to look at and say, "Oh, here's a chance to jump on the Chargers." And I'll take the defense of football team because I think the Chargers are a bit overrated coming into the season. Not that they might not be a wild card team, but I think they're a little bit overrated. The idea that they're ready to challenge the top spot, and they haven't played any of their top guys. So how ready are they going to be to go and go against a really good defense? And I know Ron Rivera can coach, and maybe we'll find out Staley is that his name. Maybe we'll find out he can be a head coach too. But I know Ron Rivera can coach, and they'll have a solid plan and be ready to go.
Yeah, I'm on the football team on that one.
Yep.
How bad is Philly?
They're awful, and I would play the other side of them early and often until the numbers catch up to them.
So Atlanta -3?
Yes.
Right. Why do you think the Eagles are awful?
I think when you look at that roster, the offensive line had gotten old and broken down, and now the pieces are moving on. And I don't think they've replaced it. I don't think they've drafted well. I don't think Jalen Hurts can throw the ball. I think he's just, a bit of a parlor trick. He's going to run for some first downs, but when you have to spin it, I don't think Hurts is not Russell Wilson, which is who everybody wanted to comp him to because he transferred schools, but that's not what he is. And so I don't think he's going to bail him out. And I just think the talent wise overall, they're not good.
I don't think they're good either.
I think they are in the battle with Houston for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I'm going to lay it there. Seattle, Indy. Carson Wentz could be back.
Is that good or bad?
They're +2.5 at home against Seattle. I'll say if he's back, I'm going to take the 2.5.
I would too, but I'm not feeling real good because, as we said, they lost to the Jags week 1. Andy Reid lost to a Tennessee Titan team in 2014. It's the only opener he lost. He lost to the Titans, and they would win, I think, one more game. I think they were 2-14. And so it does happen. Week 1s are weird, but so I think the Colts, I think Frank Reich may be tremendous. here moving forward, and he just had a bad day, and his whole team had a bad game against a Jaguar team that they thought they could just walk right over. But that scares me a little bit. If Carson Wentz is going to go, then I'm going to assume that he's playing well. And I would probably take my chances because I like the rest of the Colts roster. Although left tackle is a question until they get Eric Fisher back and healthy.
Cincinnati +3 against Minnesota. Are you confident that Burrow's going to be ready to go?
I mean, yeah, he's going to play. How well is he going to play? I don't like the Vikings, and I think the Bengals are at least going in the right direction. So I might be arriving early, but I'll take the Bengals and the points.
I'm with you. How good is San Fran? They are the favorite now to win the NFC West slightly over the Rams, +160 versus +180. I guess the other side of it are the Lions going to be decent?
No.
Is Goff a disaster? Is Dan Campbell a moron?
Who's Goff throwing to?
They're a little beat up. Tyrell Williams is supposed to be the one. They just signed Brashad Perriman, so he's got upside. They let Marvin Jones go. Their number one's off to the Giants.
And the returns on their first round draft pick tackle are not good early.
Yeah.
The Oregon kid.
Yeah, Penei Sewell.
Yeah. So, no. Hard pass on the Lions.
Damn. But are you willing to lay 7.5 on the road with the Niners?
I probably am. I think Dan Campbell is a farce. And it'd be great if guys who talk like him could be successful coaches, but name me a successful coach that says the kind of goofy shit that he does. I mean,
Amon-Ra St. Brown, he could be a one at some point.
Yeah. Hope you're in a dynasty league if that's what you're chirping. I don't see it with the Lions. No, I will move against the Lions. And I think that's the biggest number on the board, right? In a week that, like last year, the biggest spread was 8. And it's because they don't, there's so much unknown. But they're putting 8 out there for a reason.
Yeah, Bucks are 8, and then also the Rams are 7.5 against the Bears. That's on Sunday Night Football. Miami, New England, Pats 3, Mac Jones, quarterback. There's no turning back from here. No Cam Newton.
I mean, I think the spread's right where it should be. I think it's going to be a field goal game one way or the other. So, I mean, I guess I'd probably take the Dolphins because I think this game could go either way. So
who's better?
The Dolphins and the points. I don't know yet, but I think the Patriots defense is going to be really good. I think Mac Jones will have his problems. I liked Mac Jones. I think it was on this podcast that I was ripped or giving Mac Jones my Heisman Trophy vote.
Oh, we laughed at you. We mocked and chided.
Yes. I think Mac Jones can play. I think he delivers the ball, and everyone's like, wow, he had such great receivers that he hit in stride in their hands where they can keep making plays. And I think that's an important part of the equation. And so I think Mac Jones is a good quarterback, but I think he's going to have his ups and downs.
Should Denver be favored on the road against the Giants? They're -3 at the Giants.
The Denver roster is very good. Their quarterback spot is actually not that good and overrated because Teddy Bridgewater is not Alex Smith, right? He doesn't just totally take care of the ball. Like he will still make mistakes and turn it over. I think he's got leadership qualities and a will to win, but no, I don't think they should be laying points on the road against the Giants.
I agree. Do you want the home dog in a road stadium at home, but on the road against Green Bay? New Orleans is +3 against Green Bay in Jacksonville.
Don't you think that number's low?
Yes. I love Jameis. I'm going to be rooting for Jameis, but I think this could be At best, a 500 season for the Saints. I don't think they're going to be world beaters.
Here's what intrigues me about the Saints. One, I think Jameis Winston is going to have moments. I think he's going to be a turbocharged Fitzpatrick, right? There are going to be games where you're like, oh my God, here it goes. Look at the steal the Saints got. And there are going to be other games where you're like, geez, this guy can't play. But so it's, what are you getting, good or bad, Jameis? But I will say this. Last year, Aaron Rodgers had no training camp, and he played great coming out of the gates. But nobody else had any, or preseason games. But nobody else had any preseason games, right? 2 years ago, he had no preseason, and he came out of the gates with just a terrible performance against the Bears when everybody else had played preseason football. And so that's my fear, is that the Packers are going to be sluggish and the Saints can steal one, because they are going to come out and they're going to run some Taysom Hill, some Wildcat. I mean, you've had a lot of time to prepare for it, but they're going to give you a different look. And Sean Payton's really good, and he's going to have some new stuff, and they're going to be a little bit different because now they'll throw it downfield, which they weren't doing with Drew Brees for the last 5 years. And so I think it could be a tough out. So, yeah, I think the Packers ought to be favored by more, but I think I understand the reason why they're not.
I have no idea what his fiance, what the effect of Yoko Woodley. I think it's Woodley. I think it's Shailene Woodley, isn't it? Or is it Woolley? That doesn't sound right to me.
Well, hadn't she been around for a couple of years?
I don't even think that long. No, I think she's. Here's what happens, because our show is kind of sexist, and some members don't like women. We turn it into, if a quarterback starts getting kind of mouthy and truculent, that it must be the wife's fault. So that's the whole Patrick Mahomes, people hating on, what's her name again, Brittany?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and people going after Ciara for Sierra, whatever her name is, going after her for Russell Wilson getting mouthy, and I guess the same thing applies to Rodgers, who's never been mouthy before. He's never been a go against the grain guy, pushback guy. It's all her fault.
My theory, he started doing commercials with Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes told him how it works in Kansas City, and he went, what? They call you about the draft? They tell you when they're going to draft a guy? They talk to you about the free agents they're going to sign? What? I
think I get what you're saying there, but obviously the bigger one, I think, is what he saw the Buccaneers doing with Tom Brady. But, frankly, I think most of it's bullshit. I don't think they're looping in Brady on lots of stuff, but that's the way they put it out there. So now Rodgers is like, well, what about me?
I think it's a combination, because I think he sits there and chats on the set with Mahomes. Mahomes getting the Tom Brady treatment, and Rodgers wondering, what the hell do I have to do to get this?
The boy genius. The boy genius. He'll forever be the boy genius, Sean McVay. We in our countdown, we had the Rams number 3 in the league, and when we were talking to Greg Beecham today, who covers the Rams for the AP, and I was like, did we just make a Matt Stafford led team the number 3 team in the NFL? Are we insane? Are we?
No, because the arm talent is there, and he's getting a shot with a guy who's proven that he can win as his coach and coordinator. So I don't think you're insane, but the Lions didn't suck that bad with him there because he didn't contribute to the sucking. Right? Like, I don't think Patrick Mahomes goes up to Detroit and wins 4 or 5 games all the time. So now I think he'll be used well, but I think there's some Jay Cutler and Matt Stafford.
Yeah. Stafford's got a wife there too. I'm going to say it. That's Sunday Night Football. I'll lean Bears plus 7.5.
I'll take the Bears too. I think Matt Nagy is an underrated coach. I've always talked about this. Guys guys that win without the Hall of Fame quarterback don't get enough credit. And he's been to the playoffs twice in 3 years. And you'd think he's won 4 games every year in Chicago.
Right.
So I think Matt Nagy is an underrated coach. I actually think Justin Fields is an overrated quarterback. It doesn't bother me that he's not starting. I mean, he's running more than he's throwing, and I'll be intrigued to see what he can do with Andy Dalton. And I think the Rams are thin. Like, they're good at the ones, and so early in the year they're pretty healthy. So,
I wish we had more time to deep dive with when we're talking to the AP guy, because I was also like, how much did they just leave on the table to get rid of Goff? How much of a salary cap hit? Like, you can just do that, and then your roster's fine. Are you sure? But you know what? His answer was great, because it's the same thing with you guys in Kansas City. Apparently, there's no fucking salary cap for certain teams. Like, the Raiders just struggle with it all the time. They're cuts left and right. We got to blow out the offensive line. Guys are making too much money, and the Chiefs just keep adding. The Rams just keep adding. Like, all right, I don't know. Les Snead knows what he's doing, so I suppose when they need help, he'll get help.
The Chiefs are mortgaging the future. I mean, they everybody has they don't have a salary. They have roster bonuses, and then they convert those to signing bonuses, and then they get a prorated back. And so they drop Mahomes' number from 25 million to 7.5 million. But the 18 million they saved, they're going to count in years to come. And his number already was going to 43, 44. I looked at and everyone's like, well, the TV deal's coming in. It is, but they're already spending that part of the equation. So the Chiefs are to me, I question whether or not they're making the right move, because they're in a win now mode, and I think they just need to be good every year mode. They don't ever have to go all in. Patrick Mahomes gives you a chance to win every game you're in, so you don't need to just say, whatever it takes, we got to go get whatever we need.
All right. That'll do it tonight. We're going to be doing it every Tuesday, 9 o'clock. Petro's got a ton of podcasts he's doing now, so looking forward to seeing those out there.
That'll be cool. Actually.
That'll be cool.
You didn't do Ravens Raiders, right?
I didn't, but we should, because we're not going to be back on until after the game, so you're right. I already started looking at week 2 games. Yeah, I'm on the Raiders here. I don't know. I don't feel like the Ravens are trending in the right direction with all these injuries. And I thought this line was out of whack to begin with. So, but I'm also, I'm one of the few guys in the market, aside from the guys who are on the Raiders payroll, who actually thinks the Raiders are going to be pretty decent this year. I think they've been close the last couple of years, and they faded down the stretch. Their defense is going to be better. And I hope Gruden gets more aggressive, especially in the red zone, and scores touchdowns instead of field goals. And I don't think the Ravens are some unbeatable great team. Adam Hill keeps telling us that the Ravens are going to rush for 250 yards against Vegas, but you give me 4.5, raucous atmosphere, the first true home game with fans. I give the Raiders a good shot. I don't think it's some major upset if they win the game.
The Raiders lost to the Saints last year in the first game. Is that right?
No, they beat them.
They beat the Saints?
Yeah, they pulled off the big upset.
I agree with everything you said about the Raiders. I think they're going to be saltier than people think. I think the Raiders over 7 is the strongest win total play in the division. But the Ravens, John Harbaugh studied under Andy Reid, and Andy Reid, from whenever his last game ends to when his next game starts, is absolutely the best in the business. That's where he owns the offseason, and so does John Harbaugh. And I can't say that the Raiders own any part of the process yet. I mean, I like I said, I'm with you. I think they're going to be better than most people think. Yeah. But I think the Ravens, John Harbaugh is like Andy Reid. He owns the offseason, and he will own this game.
Damn. I did not expect that from you. You're usually pretty bullish on the Raiders, especially if they're getting points.
I think that's a good spot to grab them. Just not week 1 against the Ravens.
Dang. All right.
That's more about the Ravens. That's more a statement about the Ravens than it is the Raiders.
Oh, by the way, big topic today in town was Gruden did an interview with the paper, and he said he doesn't feel any pressure. He's proud of what they've done so far, and in the end, Mark Davis will decide, whether he's doing a good job or not. So, but people got very caught up on I don't feel any pressure, which, frankly, he probably doesn't, because he's making $10 million a year. He's got a 10-year contract, and if he gets blown out by Mark Davis, then there'll be some kind of buyout, and he can go right back to TV making $10 million. Yeah. Or actually, based on what guys are making now, he might make 20. He's actually wasting his friggin' time doing this.
Yes.
We get $20 million a year.
Yes.
So I'd be kind of laid back too. But I don't believe that he doesn't care. I don't believe that he doesn't feel some pressure. He knows what he's done so far, 19 and 29 in 3 years, and falling apart down the stretch the last 2 years when they were in a position to make the playoffs. The guy cares. So I think that was a moment of kind of like, well, F you. And that's not exactly what he meant to say, but you know how we work in the media.
Oh yeah. That's how we do it. That's how we roll. Good times.
Pricks. I back most of us. All right, so we're back next Tuesday. The schedule now will be Tuesdays with Petro. Wednesdays, we're going to do the legal podcast. And then Friday, we do the big roundup with Dave Koken. Hopefully he's in a good mood. He's very touchy now and as he's getting older.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a lot of like, I don't care. I'm like, all right, let's move on. He's great though, man. He is stuck in his ways, man. He is a lifelong sports bettor, and that's his existence, and that's pretty much it. That and eating out. So he's a freaking fun listen, a fun watch.
100%. He is fantastic.
I know no one on the show gets touchy. It's producers of the shows that get touchy.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah. That's the new name of the podcast, and we'll get Willie in for that one too. Willie Ramirez. I don't even know. Did Willie announce it? We officially added Willie Ramirez to the roster on Cofield and Company, and I thought he was gonna make some sort of announcement, but he hasn't done that. But yeah, he's in our rotation now with Adam Hill and Adam Candy, and Willie's our third, and hopefully we'll add a fourth at some point too. So happy times, man. Happy time. We're swimming in budget.
Swimming in talent.
Oh, it's all and talent, of course, yes. There's no show. There's no show that cultivates talent. The Cofield tree. Although I don't get credit for John Von Tobel. I think Adam Hill started his own tree, and he takes credit for John Von Tobel.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. So
yeah.
I thought it was a tree, but apparently not.
Yeah.
If we develop anyone good, it's not part of my tree.
You're more of a cactus. Cactus.
No, nothing. I'm not spawning any life at all. Just stuff mysterious